Hello. Hi, guys. So, I'm going to be doing a code channeling with light code activations with Althea. You might know her as Light Codes by Allah. So, here she is. She's going to join us, and we are just super excited to play with you guys today. And let me see. Okay, let's do it. Hello.
My
Hi.
yes, you can hear me. Hi,
You.
so nice to see you.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. After like this intense moon, but I'm doing well.
I know, right? Sometimes you don't even recognize how much energy you've been moving through until it's like all like over and processed and integrated, and you're like, whoa, that was actually a lot. So some of you
Yeah.
over the last I mean, for me, it's been like over the last month, I've been just moving through, collapsing different templates and different things, and I feel like so much more expanded now. But I'm so excited to have this chat with you. And maybe perhaps we can do a mini introduction for like if your audience doesn't know me and if there are people in my audience who doesn't know you. So you wanna kick it off?
Sure,
Okay.
thank you so much for asking. My name's Althea. I have been channeling for a few years now. I'm a light language channeler. I do past life clearing, Akashic clearings. And I actually like to expand in different areas, when it really comes to channeling, the possibilities are actually infinite because I think when you anchor into your heart and you actually, start working from there, then that's when the creativity flows. And that's where really you can choose to go into like different directions. But as Erin knows, I specialize also in light language and codes, written, spoken, signed, and really like all aspects and areas of light language and code coming through. So
Yeah, your work is so activating and amazing. And it's also just great to see other high level channels just stepping into the mission, because sometimes it can be difficult, right? This in terms of just embracing the purpose and what we're here to do. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Erin Lyons. I'm also a channel. So I work with the angelic realms. I work with galactic beings. Really, I mean, everything is consciousness. So I pretty much channel everything. Where my work is expanding now is I really work with the Universal Council of Light. So there is the Universal Council of Light is just really a collective of multiverses, which is like pretty insane. So I channel a collective of universes. That's what's been coming through lately. So yeah, and I love how you mentioned channeling like all of these different dimensions, because the way I like to explain it is everything is a reflection of you. So when we channel, we're only ever tapping into a different aspect of self. And that also really helped me to move through any fear, like when it came to like, who is this, what is this, and it's like, oh, it's just me, it's all just source.
yeah. So with me, like when I first started and still now, I'm the two main beings that I channel are one is a ninth dimensional Pleiadian version of myself and a 12th dimensional mantis being version of myself. So that's the two that I work with more closely. And even with me, when it first started coming through, when I tuned in and I understood that these were just an extension of my multidimensional self. And regardless of that, we are all connected. But when it comes to having these high vibrations, work through you, as you said, it really helps knowing that it is a part of us and it is an expression of us, and anyone can really tap into that part of self and express themselves. So it's not just something that just me and you can do. Anyone can really do. Anyone can learn how to channel. Everything is a muscle. Everything that you use for channeling is like a muscle. Your third eye is a muscle. So like learning anything, you can with dedication and love and setting boundaries in the right places,
Mm-hmm.
really access these gifts, because everyone is naturally born with psychic abilities.
Mm-hmm. And for me, it's similar where I work with a ninth dimensional Arcturian version of me, and also a 12th dimensional Lyran being that is an extension of me. And there's also a Syrian part of me too, but it's mainly my Arcturian and Lyran parallel selves that I work with. And it's absolutely true that we all are born with these gifts. And what happens is, when you are moving through density here in the third dimensional, fourth dimensional realms, you start to block yourself from that information that was already naturally there. So the more you raise your frequency, the more you raise your vibration, you will find that you feel like you're channeling, because now you're vibrating on the same level as the information that was already available. So in terms of teaching people how to channel, that is one of the basic foundations that I like to establish. Naturally raising your vibration is already going to open you up to more of yourself.
Yeah. And even for me, when what I explain also, I like to have a very practical approach to spirituality and explain things like, we are channeling all the time. So like, let's say an example, I know because this happened to me before I was channeling consciously, like,
right.
let's say your friend is going through like trauma or a difficult time, or I don't know, she's broken up with her partner or whatever, and you sit with her and these words of wisdom come out of you, and you give like advice, and then after you're like, wow, like that was very deep and profound. But you know that's also channeling. You know, every art is channeling in itself.
Yes.
So important to see these things as also very earthly and very 3D and very anchored in our reality as well, not as something separate from us. Everything can be reached from different aspects and angles.
I love that you brought up art being a form of channeling, because there are so many high level creatives that I see and I'm like, you're totally channeling that, whether it's music or dance or singing, or I don't know, you're a movie producer. It's like, it's all channeled from the higher mind. Like it's all this expression of source that is being that we are the vessel for. So you're already a living, walking, breathing channel. Maybe it doesn't look like how we're channeling right here, but you are already a channel. And I think the more you acknowledge that within yourself, the more you will start to recognize when it's happening.
Yeah, and open up. I came across this information. This is so funny. I came across this information recently that I can't remember. I read it somewhere, and it so resonated with me that the information for, I haven't seen the TV series, I don't know it, but I know it's famous. The TV series of Star Trek is loosely based on actually the Galactic Federation and what is actually really going on. But it was sent at a time where humans weren't necessarily ready to know it in that way. So it was sent through the guy who wrote the books.
Yes.
And sent to him so that he could send it, so that it would start preparing us on a conscious and subconscious level. So channeling is happening like forever, really.
Forever. Yeah. It can happen through, you get this inspiration, this idea, or like this creative desire to do something. That is your higher self working through you. So I think a lot of people, and even myself in the beginning of my like conscious channeling, we discount these experiences or these downloads and these messages because there's a part of us that doesn't believe that someone like us could receive something on that level.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of it has to do with the programming, obviously, because we start program, not feel good enough, not being enough, not doing enough, needing external factors to fill in. You know, we are born, and as we are born, we are put in a consumeristic society that puts us in a space of lack. Like, oh, this to be happy, we need that to be happy, and to be a good and integrated and solid channel, you actually need to be in a space where all of that is filled by yourself, or you're in a space of trust towards yourself, because it's not just about the information, it's about trusting yourself with the information and trusting yourself that you're not just speaking gibberish, that it is actually that's like a thing, like a phase. Like when my channel first opened in the light language spoken, because I started with my hands first, and then my
Mm-hmm.
Like it took 2-3 months because I was still smoking at the time. So I remember my throat being a bit more blocked. And when it came through for about a week, it just sounded like like one sound repeating. And it
Uh-huh.
was just, and I remember sending a message to a friend of mine, like a voice note saying, like, is this, she was like, no, no, fine. This was now like 2018. No one was channeling light language. No one really knew
Yeah.
as much, it wasn't kind
Mm-hmm.
of like as big as it is now. And so this is what I also like to explain to people who are opening. It will just be sounds at the beginning. It might even just be like groans or screams or moans. Like your channel is opening, it's integrating. Trust yourself, and then the more you trust it, the more it will come through, and the easier it will be as well.
Mm-hmm. And with channeling, there is a level of ego purification that has to take place in terms of being a solid channel for clear information, for high vibrational information, which is why I was saying, as you awaken and you expand and you're doing the shadow work, that is why you will naturally start to feel like you're opening yourself up to information. So if you don't have the purest of intentions, or you think channeling is about you and it's not about, serving the collective, those are areas where you will be blocked, and it will feel like, well, why am I not getting all of this information?
Yeah.
And you still need to go through this purification process, which is totally okay. And with light language, it was the same thing for me, where I started out like my throat chakra was so blocked. I did not want this to come out, and it would be very broken up, like la gosh. And then one day something just clicked where I was like, you know what? I truly embrace the fullness of who I am and this purpose, and I open myself up to be
Wow.
the vessel. And all of light, it was like for 2 weeks I couldn't. It was just like coming out at a speed that you could not imagine. So for those of you who feel like you are also here to channel light language, a part of expanding that channel is you have to truly be grounded in the purpose, and the purpose shouldn't feel like a burden. It should feel like a blessing.
Yeah, yeah. And I totally like what you say. I love the way you explain the ego purification. It comes down to detaching yourself from it. So being in a space of, it's not about me, it's not about, I'll tell you, Erin, it's about the channel, it's about the information, about what is needed for the collective at this moment in time. This is a good example. When this was like also like a few years ago, when everything kind of started opening and whatnot, I really wanted to access the Akashic records. I was not given access to them until I released the attachment to wanting to access them. Now I don't care. I don't want to know. Like, let me live it. Like, I go in them all day, every day for others. I don't want to do it. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But I don't really ask anymore. I could, but I don't have attachment. So it comes down to releasing any attachment to identity. You don't want to identify yourself in, the channeler or the light worker or this or that. Like, you are a multidimensional, infinite being of pure source consciousness light. So any label that you attach yourself to will be limiting, so it's about unlearning everything that you learned that you are, and also putting yourself in the space. Like, this is something that's been coming up a lot for me recently, for my clients and on a collective level. If you lose your job, who are you? If you stop going to the gym for a week, who are you? If you are not allowed to, I don't know, wear green anymore, looking at things that are a habit for you, and is there attachment in it? So if you lose it tomorrow, are you going to be okay with it, or will you panic? So self-analyzing and shadow work as well is a very big part of becoming a good channel, I would say.
I love that so much, because I think to be a good channel, you have to empty out everything that you thought was you. So if you have this attachment to your job or the title or being known for a certain thing, or like whatever ego attachment that it is, that doesn't create space for you to be a vessel for pure source, which is just pure awareness and consciousness, no labels at all.
Yeah.
And there was something I was going to say about about your intention, asking yourself, because so many people come to me and they're like, I want to channel. How do I channel? How do I do that? you have to get intentional with yourself and ask, why do I really want to do this? Is it because I want um, fame and followers and people coming to me and I'm now the guru that everybody's coming to? That's the inner shadow work you want to explore and that you want to do, because ultimately the universe isn't going to allow you to be extremely known in this work if there isn't that level of pure intention. And even for me, it was totally opposite, where I didn't want to do this work. Like, I had to be like, my guides had to really like shock me into like, this is what you came here to do. This is why it's important. This is why it's powerful. I didn't go looking for light language. I didn't go looking for channeling. It was like the universe was shaking me like, hey, you're not here to just keep this all to yourself. So, I think with like the people that I'm pretty sure for you too in your business that we're working with on a personal level, it's always people who have this pure intention, and it's not coming from a place of this is just something else that you're trying to do to get something that you think that you don't already have.
Yeah, exactly. And what also came through to me is that when you are channeling, but you're not in a space of purity, the channel can come through distorted. So what happens is the channel will come through and it will actually attach itself, the distortion, to your trauma that you haven't dealt with. So the projections, things will come through not in the way that, and you will feel it as a spectator. You will feel it. You will watch that person channeling. It's going to feel weird. Not weird in a sense that you're, because sometimes you can feel nauseated or palpitations or whatnot, and you're clearing. There will just be something that feels a bit off, and actually, like, I don't want to say a problem, because everything is serving its purpose, but it's a thing in the, like, there's a lot of people there charging very, very high amounts of money without really the experience to an extent, because I think that you need to, there's obviously everyone must do what they want. There's freedom, people must do what they want, but the amount of people that I have to clear from other people who are not doing the work properly and are getting attachments from other healers or energy workers is actually quite a lot. You'd be surprised. The people who come to me, I've been to this person and to that person and whatnot. I've done this clearing. I've done that. I go in their system and I'm like, no, actually, no. This is what. Yeah, and it's not like one. But there's people out there. So I think it's important to really be in a space of self-assessment. I think for me it was different. I always knew that I was going to do psychic work to an extent, because I've always had intuition, and I started like with Reiki 10 years ago. I started with tarot when I was like 12. So I kind of knew to a certain extent that was the direction I was going to go in. Not that it would be how it is now, because obviously, as you also said, and as you also know, it evolves. We evolve. Like, I knew it. I just didn't know how it was going to kind of unfold, if it makes sense.
I knew. So I had this ego death experience, multiple ego death experiences, where I just totally reunited with source, that whole thing. I knew I was here to be a spiritual teacher, but because I went this source had me go on this conventional path of like working on Wall Street, working in finance, it was always so confusing to me, like, hey, when is this going to happen? Like, how is this going to happen? And then when it finally caught up to me and it was time, I was like, whoa. And I had to go through another ego death of like what you were saying about releasing the job and the titles and the whatever, and like, okay, that served its purpose, and now it's time to expand into this. So I think like the importance of why this is coming up in this conversation is there are so many different paths to doing this work. And some of you might be in a job right now that you hate or you can't stand, or maybe you love it, but you're feeling like, oh, there's something else that I should be doing, and you feel bad about that. Don't feel bad, because it is serving its purpose. It comes with lessons. It comes with initiations. It comes with the things that you need to experience to then step into your role as a teacher, a healer, or a light worker. So I want to talk about entities and attachments, since we were kind of going that way anyways. How would you explain psychic attacks, entities, attachments, that whole thing?
That's a broad subject. There's so obviously, to understand attachments, we need to understand energy cords and how those work. There's psychic attacks that can happen, on a collective level and on an individual level. And then there's also intrusive thoughts, which is a type of psychic attacks. There's psychic attacks in the 3D, 4D, and on the different planes and whatnot. There's psychic attacks that can come through from people that are close to you. I think everything serves its purpose. So this is very important, guys. There is no wrong in life. No wrong. Everything is a lesson. So if something happens and it doesn't go in the way you wanted it to go, it's not that it went wrong. You learned a lesson. The next time you move on and you do it in another way or in a different aspect. I think so. With psychic attacks, like we've had actually a lot coming in the past, like 3 weeks or so since the Lionsgate portal opening. I found that there was a lot that came to the surface on a level to be cleared and released, and it came through in different ways in psychic attacks and whatnot. But psychic attacks in itself, like as I said, it's very, very vast. It can be like your friend calling you and shouting at you for like no reason just before you going on like a big conference call. That's something that's trying to block you,
throw your energy off, and
exactly. Or your energy off or something like that. It could be something in the astral that comes and attacks you when you're sleeping in the astral space. It can be actual entities that attach to your root and suck energy from you, or sexual cords. You can pick up so many attachments from non-conscious sexual interactions. Why? Because you're not only mixing on an energetic level, you're mixing on a physical level with someone. So the amount of sexual cords that I also have to clear from people is actually quite a lot. Now, I don't want to put anyone in fear. So guys, don't be normal lessons. We go through them, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of different aspects. Intrusive thoughts, which are just thoughts that kind of like want to be observed and cleared. So you're cutting up carrots and you suddenly imagine stabbing someone or stabbing yourself. That's not you. That's not you being a psycho wanting to stab yourself. That's intrusive thought. Well, pick it up, wanting it to be observed, because remember, guys, everything just wants the light. They just want the light. They just want to be transmuted. So they come to you because you are light. You are light within yourself. So they just want to be transmuted, or for lessons as well.
Sure. I love everything you said. And the way that I see entities, attachments, psychic attacks, this whole kind of realm, is you want to see these as your own shadow self, right? If you are source and everything here is source, it's just source vibrating on different frequencies, right? So these lower vibrational beings who have forgotten that they are the light, that they are love, that they are source, you as the being having this experience, you are just becoming aware of different aspects of self that you get to transcend. So if you are feeling these intrusive thoughts, or you feel like you're under psychic attack, you don't want to give your power away to something that you're believing is outside of you. You can just say, okay, maybe this is a reflection that is showing me where I do have an attachment, or where I am believing something about myself, where I am believing in an illusion that now it's time to heal. And when you do that, and you allow yourself to be this vessel for love and illumination, then guess what? The attachment, the entity, or whatever it is, it disappears, right? Because on some level, everything is always showing you who you're believing yourself to be. You can even see these as a gift. Thank you for allowing me to move through something that I was believing about myself that was an untruth, because it was coming from my false self. So in that way, you stay in your power, because what these beings want is they want you to not remember that you are source, right? A lot of low vibrational entities are actually really intelligent. They have information that a lot of humans don't have, and they can they know how to use that against you. But when you stay anchored in that source I am awareness, you just have the ability to transcend so much.
Yeah. And I think what they do, as you said, they kind of latch onto trauma. So if you haven't observed and looked at your own trauma, then you're allowing whatever it is that needs to. Sometimes strange because sometimes they pre-contracted. So I had this quite intense experience. I think it was last year, again, just before the Lionsgate portal, where I was in the astral, and I do a lot of work in the astral. I get sent all over the world. I work with a lot of people. I was working on this friend of mine who was actually pregnant at the time, and I was sent her to do some work. Anyway, long story short, I wake up. As I'm working on her, I get like sort of like woken up. I wake up and I actually have to run to the bathroom to energetically gag. So I energetically start like gagging. Nothing comes
Mhm.
out but energetic vomit. And I was like, okay, so let me like tune in, figure out whatnot. I ended up speaking to a colleague of mine. Long story short, this is a very close friend of mine, right? In
Uh-huh.
past, I had murdered her, right? And because I had murdered her, she vowed in that past life to send part of herself through to me at
Mm.
a moment in time,
Mhm.
for revenge or whatnot. So I had to actually work extensively for a few days on myself to clear this entity and this energy that had come through that had actually latched onto me. So it was still a part of, well, everything is a part
Your
of me,
own
but
karmic,
part
right? Yeah,
yeah,
balancing.
yeah,
I
exactly.
love that story because it truly allows people to understand whatever's happening in the moment, it's happening for a reason. And if you just accept it and you work through it and you don't fall into victimization, you have no clue in a parallel timeline reality like what you've done and why this is showing up. But if you just say, okay, let's work through it, now you are empowered.
Yeah. And also what you said exactly, it's so important. This has been coming through to me in the past 2 months as well. I've been saying it to my clients: release attachment to the story. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter what's happening, it's in the now. As you said, stay empowered, stay anchored, because we make up these big stories of, in this life I was this, in that life I was that. And yes, good stuff, not important, but don't get consumed by it.
Yeah.
Don't give it power. Don't get sucked in by it.
Being in the present moment, and even when it comes to aligning with abundance in this experience too, that's a huge part of it. You can't hold on to this identity and this version of you that you once were. You have to just always find a way to be in the present moment, because the present moment is where all infinite possibility is. None of us are this one fixed version of who we will ever be. It's literally changing every second, every moment, every single day. And you have to consciously work to just ask yourself, where am I being attached to a part of my identity that is no longer the story that my higher self wants to tell? And that frees up space for you to truly be present with what you can experience here and now.
Yeah. I had this vision meditation once. This was this year. It was very interesting. I was taken to this kind of like vastness of space, and I became a cell, like just a cell. And I
Yeah.
started multiplying myself, like multiplying like a cell.
Mm.
That's the
Uh-huh.
best describe it. And I was the cell, but I was also seeing the cell. And then I asked, like, psychically to source, I said, what is this? What are you showing me? And I was told, this is it. This is what it's about. It's the creation, the rebirthing,
Yes.
the second in every.
Heck. Okay, okay, okay. We are back. 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 Sorry, my phone overheated. Whenever there's just like a lot of energy, it tends to do that. So we're gonna try to anchor this technology, and hop back into the conversation.
Bring Altia back on. Okay,
Hey,
there we go.
yeah.
I'm
Also,
sorry. So I don't know if that ever happens to you, but when there's just like a lot of energy around a container, like my technology will just totally go out.
so I had it happen with another friend of mine. Her phone also overheated. So what I generally do is I just screen all my technology before I go live and before I post anything. So I just put light around my phone, my
Mm.
laptop, anything that I use, just so to make sure. But with Mercury as well, like the technology has been ups and downs. But I think you should have saved an archive automatically the first
Oh yeah, I
live.
did. I said I have it. We have it.
Save it. Okay, perfect. Because I
Yeah.
wasn't able to save it or anything on mine. It just, I kept on talking for a bit and then it just threw me out.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what happened was my phone just went dead, and then it came back when it cooled down, and then I was back in the live, but it was like not loading, so I just canceled it out. But I have it. So we're back, and you were talking about I know we were talking about entities and some psychic work you were doing.
Yeah, and well, and creation and how we rebirthing in every moment and how we
Okay.
have to
Yes.
stay grounded to be able to, first of all, I think recognize whenever we get psychically attacked or whenever there is a part of us that needs to be, you know, observed, released, loved. Something that's been coming up for me actually personally in the past like two few days actually since this weekend is forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, just forgiveness. Like what happens with me is I'll go in cycles, like I'll have cycles of like, because probably this is the same with you, because we've been doing this for so many lifetimes and we've done this kind of like, you know, oracle work and work as a light worker and spreading the light and doing energy work in different aspects and areas. We've been through a lot. Like even in just my lifetime here, this human one, I feel like I've lived 100 different lifetimes. Just
I know, right?
so I go in cycles. I'll have cycles, you know, I'll generally be, okay, clearing me collectively, whatnot. And then I'll have cycles of like personal things that I go through that are like, okay, this is showing up like this for me. How do I need to observe this? Where is this? And then it will start showing up for my clients at the same time as well. And then I will know that it's something that needs to be cleared also on a collective level.
Yes. And how I like to see this is in templates. So because typically I'm vibrating high, so I'm very sensitive to like, okay, when I am working through a template or a cycle that I need to collapse, and when I'm collapsing it for myself, I know I'm also collapsing it for the collective, but it's just, okay, this is a matrix template that I'm now aware of that I need to collapse, right? And that's all you guys are doing in your ascension process. You're collapsing these different programs, these cords, these ideologies that have been implanted with you, and it just happens in cycles. So even the way I like to explain ascension in like a very simple way is you are here to live the most fun, exciting, joyful, expansive life as source creator. That's all source really wants to do. But to do that and to be able to truly live life in that way, you are just going to have to continuously collapse all of the things that were not allowing you to do that. I mean, it's really that simple. How would you like to explain ascension?
Yeah, about unlearning everything that you've been taught to learn. It's literally unlearning structures, the programming, the templates, everything, you know. And the way I like to also see it is that, first of all, it doesn't really end. Like, sorry guys, bad news. Right? Unless you come here with clear karma, because that's also a possibility. Like my partner, who's my divine counterpart in this lifetime, he's actually come through with very clear karma, which to me was like quite like shocking and intense. And I'm like, but there are like these new, like my daughter, like these new generations come through with clear karma. But if like, you know, probably 95% of us, you've come here and you've had other lifetimes here and whatnot. How I see it is, first you do the templates in this lifetime, then you do the ones in past lifetime as a human on earth, then you do the ones in past lifetimes past as a non-human on earth, and then you start with your galactic ones as well. Obviously time is all happening at the same time as well, so as you clear it in one timeline, you're clearing it in all the others as well. But if we need to explain it in a linear way, like the ascension, you go up and then you go a little bit back and then a little bit up and then a little bit not really like that, but for the sake of a conscious understanding of it, that's how I have learned to see it. So then you come to a space where you're clearing all these templates that come from not necessarily this lifetime here on earth, if this makes sense. I don't know if I explained it.
For those of you who want more clarity, like if you just hopped on, we're really talking about not only are you doing work for yourself in this lifetime, but all of your multidimensional selves, right? I mean, I do a lot of soul retrieval work because it's mainly like advanced star seeds come to me. So we're like traveling throughout the entire universe, like getting these soul fragments and these different pieces that fractured off, and we're in the Akashic records like, oh, when like 24,000 years ago this happened, and this version of you is still hasn't processed the experience. And you know, there's just so much happening. How you guys can also see this is accepting all of yourself, because it is all of you. So I saw somebody say something like, I'm good at forgiving other people but not myself. That's something that you want to learn how to do, because if you were meant to be in your pure state of source consciousness, you wouldn't come here, right? You come here knowing that you're going to forget, you're not going to always remember. And forgiveness is even really, the vibration of the word, like what Source is saying right now is, like, Source doesn't have to forgive us for anything, because everything is automatically known. Everything is all automatically known, like the value of the experiences that you're having. So even with yourself, you have to unconditionally accept all of yourself. So like this version of you that came through, or that you became aware of like murdering somebody in a past lifetime, you could easily sit there and go, oh, I was this horrible person. But it's like, we're just exploring consciousness, and these things happen. And when you learn how to unconditionally forgive yourself, I find that you can unconditionally forgive other people, because we're all just Source playing this game, and going through these different levels of forgetting and remembering.
Yeah, exactly. What I've channeled is that in this lifetime, we're not really going to complete a full soul fragment retrieval, because our physical vessel isn't actually able to contain us, because of how multidimensional we are.
Yes.
Healing doesn't really kind of end. It gets to a point where you're in alignment, so it's easier and it's balanced, and you know, and as you said, you'll see the template, you'll collapse it, move on and whatnot, and help other people do it. So it gets to a space where it's easier, but it's not about getting anywhere. It's about enjoying, being anchored, understanding that you chose to be here, you chose to live this experience. Nothing will be given to you to have to deal with that you cannot handle, because everything is, you know, it's you in a space where you can handle what gets thrown at you. And also a nice way of understanding and seeing it is that we come here, let's say, having to learn a certain amount of lessons. Okay, so Althea comes here, she needs to learn lesson A and lesson B. Okay, she has to learn lesson A and lesson B. What determines how she gets from lesson A to lesson B is her free will. So Althea can be happy and in alignment and in a good space, and she gets easily from lesson A to lesson B. Or Althea cannot be listening to the universe, so she does all of this until she eventually slams into lesson B. That's kind of
Exactly.
Still have your free will, even if there's contracts and lessons and whatnot, but it just determines the way that you go through and reach those lessons.
Yes. And this, I want to answer this question because it's directly connected to what we're talking about. So someone said, Erin, how do you collapse things that prevent you from living in joy? You know, it really just starts with awareness. When you have to listen to that emotional guidance system, if you're not feeling in love, in joy, in excitement, in expansion, which is truly the vibration of your highest self, then you know, okay, there's something here that is not in alignment. And then with that awareness, you take a deeper look, and then you're able to work through it, and you can free yourself. But I also want to highlight, guys, that healing doesn't always have to be ugly. You can totally live a magical, miraculous, expansive life as you are collapsing these templates. And that's the way I've moved through my life. Okay, I understand what's being placed in front of me. I can totally approach it from a place of joy, a place of understanding that it is just helping me unlock more of my soul. And I think that is how you truly live this life here in this time space reality without feeling like you're in a prison. Because what Source is coming through and saying now is many humans experience this reality as a prison, as something that they need to overcome. yes, there are lessons, there are reflections, there are templates, there are things that we're collapsing, but ultimately you want to get to this place of truly saying, I love being here. I love being alive. And the true gift is that you are alive. And I think if there was a place that you were going to, that would be the place to arrive in the present moment of, I exist and I love existing and I'm in love with my existence.
Definitely. And I think sitting in a space of gratitude for whatever it is will put you in that space, because
Yeah.
if you start your with just being grateful, sitting 5-10 minutes in gratitude, then whatever happens in your day, you're still going to be grateful. And being in a space of gratitude will set you automatically in a space of abundance, which is having everything you need. So when you're grateful and you're in abundance, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can sit and I mean, all those emotions, but being grateful for it, for the experience, for being here. Yeah, this is what you said. So in alignment, because a lot of people also come to me like, oh, I want to get to here, I want to get to there, I want to do this. So it's not about doing, it's about being. We're not human doings, we're human beings. Sometimes we forget that we need to be. And as you anchor in the moment, so this is what I like to also explain is when it comes to understanding 0 point neutrality and being in a space of neutrality, which is in a space where you're neutral. So when you get to that 0 point neutrality, it's, you know, you're meditating and all your thoughts clear your mind and you're neutral. So you can be everything or you can be nothing. Carrying that space in your day, throughout your day, is where you want to be, because that's the most powerful place to be, because then you're not affected by other people, by what happens around you. You don't really have expectations or attachments to situations or people or anything like that. You're still feeling the joy, the love, you still feel the good emotions and the positive emotions and things like that. But when an emotion that is of a low vibrational frequency comes to you, you observe it, you feel it, and then you let it go. You don't dwell in it. Don't let it, you know, take over you. You know, you still feel it, but it's kind of like you're feeling it but detaching yourself from it, if it makes sense.
Yeah, and how I like to approach this is, because I know so many people, they really struggle with the lower vibration emotions. And what happens is when you judge a lower vibrational emotion, that does create this ripple effect where you find yourself getting pulled into this downward spiral, because not only are you you're dealing with the emotion itself, but you're judging it. So there's like this added layer of, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this. And especially with light workers, this is where they struggle, because it's, I should be in love and light all the time. Why am I experiencing this? And now more anxiety is happening. But what you can actually do is understand that as source, you are here to experience the all of it. So when an emotion is visiting with you, or whether it's happiness or sadness, you can be present with that emotion, and it's, oh, this is this is what I'm experiencing. It's just an experience, and then you can release it. It's even like, I like to play with, like, if anger or frustration or whatever is coming up, you can totally have fun with that emotion, and then you can instantaneously transmute it when you're like, oh, like, I'm feeling pissed right now. This is the version of me that's feeling the experience of being pissed. Oh, how interesting is that? Let me explore that. And then it doesn't feel like something that is keeping you from your alignment, and you can shift through it like really, really fast, guys. Really, really fast.
That's such a beautiful way to see it. That's so, well, thank you so much for that, because it's so beautiful. It's like, literally, like, you know, explore it and be like, oh, okay, you know, and also question yourself. You know, it's okay to ask, why are you feeling this? Okay, is this coming from a trigger from a family member? Is this coming from an internal wound? Understanding where it comes from. This is how you deprogram yourself, so that the next time, if the situation happens, you're not in that space again. You know, so let's say someone says something at you, you react to it. It's a trigger. You get angry. You know, understand. Okay, why is it angering me? Is it touching an abandonment wound that I have from my mother, or is it? It can be anything, but going in within the self and analyzing within the self, and then when it happens again, reacting differently. That's literally how you deprogram yourself from triggers.
And triggers are just teachers. Everything that's emotionally happening within you is just showing you where you are believing something, where you are attached to something. So if you make friends with the trigger and you go, oh, this is just a friend showing me something that's going to actually allow me to be more free. Now you don't feel like you're in this constant battle with yourself, or with the universe or with like whatever you believe to be outside of yourself, you're like, oh, it's all actually just working out for me because it's showing me something that will ultimately lead me to my highest liberation and freedom. And so what I'm hearing right now is Source is saying, where do you all think you're going? Like, where do you guys think you're going? This is actually it. You're in the thing that you are waiting to happen, like, happening right now. Like, this is Source is like, this is it. This moment, this is it. So where do we think we're going? And then furthermore, we try to rush to get to the next place. Why? You're an eternal being. There's literally nothing else to do but to be here and to create and to come to new ideas and conclusions about what you prefer to experience. That's it.
Literally.
That's literally it. It's like, that's it.
It's about being in that heart space and following that passion, that activity, that, you know, and you can't really go wrong. It might seem like things are collapsing. It might seem like you said, you know, things might shift and losing the job and changing this and changing that. But, you know, a lot of the time you've asked for highest alignment. You've asked for things to change. Now you're losing the job. They're helping you. It might not seem like it, but your guides are helping you, you know, in the right direction. But as you said, it's not really a place to be. It's to go. It's just how to be, how to be anchored in the moment. But I think for a lot of people, it's more difficult to conceptualize because they are in transition. We always in transition all the time, but when you're transitioning through very intense shadow work, I mean, I know for myself, I went through very intense lessons and whatnot. It was like, can I just get out of this? Like, you know, and it feels like you want to kind of like go in that sort of higher step in a way, but also understanding that healing is non-linear. There's no, it's not like you go up. It feels like you've gone backwards and then you go a bit backwards and then all of a sudden you go more forward. And then one morning you wake up and you're like, oh, actually today I reacted differently to that thing. So maybe all of that I went through, you know, then served for something. That's what I've noticed in my own experience, that you just wake up and then you realize that you're actually doing, in a sense, better than what you maybe would have done if you look back to a few months or a year or whatnot.
Absolutely, because when we're in the intense shadow work, or when we go through these long periods of feeling like, you know, just stuck, or like I'm doing the work but I'm not seeing the change, it can feel permanent, right? It can feel like this is not just a temporary experience. And I know even in my own life, when I think about the years of shadow work that I did, and it just felt like, where is this all going? Like, what's, like, I'm tired. Like, what is this? And of course, there was still joy and magic and miracles in the process of that. But you can do this work for a long time and still feel like, where is the big payoff? And so I want to talk about this power of good karma, because so many times we talk about, like, you know, working through negative karma, but as you're moving through these cycles, guys, that new frequency and momentum that you're creating in your life will catch up to you, and you will wake up one day and you will experience a divine intervention or a quantum leap, and you will experience this shift into a new timeline where things are easier because you have moved through the lessons. So look at these, like, if you really find yourself right now in a space where like things just feel hard and heavy, I always tell my clients in my community, see this as your mastery training, right? See this as your path of mastery, and all of it vibrationally is going to catch up to you, and you will get the payoff that you're looking for. Yes.
Yeah. Definitely. And as we said, it gets easier. Sometimes we go through really, really long challenges. And remember, guys, if you keep on responding in the same way, you're going to keep on getting the same lessons. You need to do things differently. You need to step outside the comfort zone, because that's where the growth happens. If you keep on stepping in the comfort zone, you keep on repeating the same cycle, so you're going to keep on getting the same lessons. Because I know this is a problem. A lot of people are feeling stuck, like they're not moving forward, like things, you know, are coming up over and over again. Sometimes that is the lesson, you know, having it come in one side or the other side, and then, you know, and then having to navigate it. But controlling the way you respond to it, responding to it differently. So let's say again, one day you're going to get angry, the next day you actually sit in meditation and clear the anger and don't react to it. You know, by you responding differently, you're going to be able to move through it and to shift into the timeline that is of your highest alignment. Because guys, all the timelines already exist. A timeline where you are a billionaire with 6 cars, whatever, already exists. They all exist. It's just a matter of time shifting into alignment with it, because you are a master co-creator being of your reality. So also getting the mindset where you want to manifest again more abundance. The abundance is already there. You know, you don't have to make it. You align with the timeline where you're in, where you are abundant.
Yes. And I went to an Abraham Hicks like live workshop this weekend. It was like it was the first time I saw her live. And I love the way that Abraham came through and explained lack. And what lack is, guys, is you attracting the absence of something. Not that the thing is doesn't exist somewhere in some timeline within infinity, but it's that you are literally manifesting, generating, creating the experience of that thing being missing or lacking or unavailable. So with abundance, it's about understanding unconditional abundance. And this is something that was a mastery lesson for me when I didn't have the money that I needed, when I didn't have whatever, like when all of this stuff was going chaotically wrong in my life. I had to recognize that no matter what the reality was showing me, that the abundance was there. Right. And I had to just vibrationally attune to it to then allow my reality to reflect it back to me. So what a lot of people do is they keep recognizing, oh, I don't have this partner or this money or like these clients in my business or like all these things. And they just keep re-experiencing the same timeline. And that you just have to learn how to align with the timeline that encompasses everything that you want to experience. But granted, I know this is easier said than done. Just giving like, you know, the higher framework for how it all works.
Yeah, I think being, again, this is what I like to explain also to my clients. When you go into that 0-point neutrality of meditation, before you enter that place, think, okay, let's say you want to manifest money, because people want money to live and whatnot. Okay, why do you want to manifest it? Is it for freedom, to be free to travel? Is it for safety, house, being secure and safe in your house? What is it? So then when you're in that 0-point neutrality, you become the emotion that the money will bring you in order to attract it, but come it from a space of non-attachment. So you don't go into it needing it, because then you're moving out of 0-point neutrality. So it's easier said than done, as you said, you know, like, you know, said than done. But even with me, I was in a space about 4 years ago where I had no job, no money. I was 4 months pregnant, just out of an abusive relationship. I had to move back in with my parents because I couldn't afford a house or anything like that. I had nothing to my name. I had lost, like, I was doing kind of like a little bit of Reiki here and there on the side, but I had stopped because my main source of income, I was actually organizing big events and markets and live music and things like that. And with the pandemic, all of that was like gone. So I forced to be in a space where I had nothing. So what did that make me do? It made me release attachment to everything, because I was like, well, now I have, like, okay. And still I was able to, you know, sit in a space of, you know, well, I moved through it, but then eventually I was able to sit in a space of gratitude, not straight away. Like I had kind of, like, I'm human, so I was kind of, why is this happening? Right?
And oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I was finished.
No, I'm so grateful to having gone through a similar period in my life of, it feels like everything is being renounced. Like, you know how monks, they like consciously renounce everything, but you go through a process of like, you didn't ask for it to be renounced, but like everything is falling apart. And I'm so thankful to these experiences, because when you are in these times of your life, guys, you recognize that it was never about any of the things. And it allows you to have a direct experience of who you are as source. That without these conditions, without these materials and these labels or relationships or whatever, what's left? If we were to strip you down today of everything that you think you own and that you have, what would be left? Would you still be able to be in a frequency of joy and gratitude and self-realization of who you really are? If not, that's really where a lot of that inner shadow work comes into play. Who are you without the attachments and the labels? Who are you? How would you feel? Would you be ashamed? Shame is a huge thing, especially when it comes to money. You have to get to the point to where even if you had $0 in your bank, like me, what I've experienced, I still love myself. I still feel abundant. I still know who I am as a soul. And then that's when life starts to change in a way where you can maintain these higher timelines of abundance.
Yeah. Yeah. And abundance, guys, is having everything you need when you need it. You're hungry, you have food.
Yes.
You want to sleep, you know what I mean? That is the concept of abundance. It's having everything you need when you need it. And as you said, when you feel like that, even without having anything, that's when you actually are in the vibration of it and you start attracting everything really. But always from a space of you don't need it. Like you don't need it. Like
you're not attached.
You don't care is a negative connotation, but you know it's nice to have nice things, but I don't care. Like it's to be happy. Like
yeah.
you know what I mean?
You'll experience as how I like to explain it is there's a difference between wanting to manifest and create something from your ego, because your ego is like, oh, when we have that thing, then we will be complete, versus creating from your soul, where it's just like this infinite inner child of I'm creating this from a place of I am already complete. And this is just something fun because I am the creator and this is creation. I am just playing in my own energy. The vibration is totally different to play, to create on that level. So you want to really ask yourself, why is it that I want the things that I want? Why do I want to manifest this dream job? Why do I want this business? Why do I want all of these clients? Is it because I truly believe that there's something outside of me? Or am I operating from the space of all of infinity is collapsed within my own beingness and I am just surfing the waves of my own potentiality? Totally different way of experiencing life.
Yeah, literally, that was so beautiful. Thank you for phrasing that in that way, because I actually felt it so much. I literally felt it in my heart. Like my heart just went all sort of like
yeah.
So it's knowing exactly that you are your inner child. You can create everything, and everything is already there. So it's about creating it and aligning with it at the same time, and seeing it as a child. Like my greatest teacher is my 2-year-old, like because of how I see things through her and how she is seeing things and whatnot. And I'm sure if any of you guys who are here live have children, have seen, like a lot of my clients who do also have children, like these children that are coming through now, they are something else. Like they have the whole universe in their eyes. Like it's insane to see kind of like how they respond and react to things, and how it's almost like they really just follow their inner child, their passion, their love, you know. And can learn from them. Obviously, like, you know, we are living in society, so we can't we still need to be socially acceptable to a certain extent. We can't run around naked like 2-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can really learn a lot from these children.
Oh, for sure, because they're so present. And what Source is even saying right now is we throw around this word of like the infinite creator or infinity, or like you are the creator of your reality, but like we say it so much that we aren't fully understanding the truth in it, that you are literally here exploring infinity. That's literally what you're doing, exploring an aspect of yourself, an aspect of what is possible. And something in my life that has really helped me, guys, is surrendering to infinite intelligence, right? Because your ego mind doesn't have all of the answers, not even 0.01% of it. And you have Source, who is the higher mind, who can see everything, who can see exactly why maybe right now you're in this certain relationship and you need to have this experience that's going to ultimately prime you for the next relationship and the next partner who will be the vibrational match. So when you just surrender to this infinite intelligence of everything's always working out for me, the universe is orchestrating this ultimately for my highest expansion, you won't experience things as like a burden or painful. You can transcend it, you can transmute it, and you can experience it as this gift that continuously is giving to you, and you won't get stuck in the lower timeline. So before we move into light language, I want to talk about one last thing that I'm being asked to speak on, which is AI. AI inorganic source timelines, because I know a lot of people have questions about that. So yeah, what do you want to share on that?
Sorry, I've been clear for 10 minutes. Thank you. So now you're going to channel. We're sending through. I'm like, guys, yes, we're getting there. We're getting there.
I know.
Yeah, so the way I see it, there's different types of AI. I mean, everyone is like, oh, like I have an implant and I'm being implanted. And I'm like, yes, this is something that happens, but 90% of the time, people who come to me actually have just blockages in their lower chakras. The third eye is never really blocked. Like, it's, you know, if you're not reaching, the energy is not coming up here, it's because there's blockages lower down. Sometimes there's implants. There's different types that I see them kind of like almost like spiders, like stuck on, or like little like round things that are sort of like also stuck on, like insectoid. That's how I see them, and that's how I then physically like just actually physically remove them, and then they go, like you just take them off. They're actually quite easy once you can see them and you know that they're there. It's really not complicated. A lot of star seeds are pre-contracted to have these. A lot of people also with addiction. That's what I was swarmed with implants, guys. You have no idea the amount of stuff that I had to clear from me before I was actually able to, you know, do. And still now, sometimes I get attacked. Like it was like quite a while ago that I had something that this was reptilian that came and coiled itself in my between my sacral and solar plexus, and I had to like clear and release it and let it go. And this was just it's normal. It happens, especially when you're doing work at our level. Like it can just happen. So I would like not be in a space of fear. Understand that even if it is AI, it is all part of source. So, you know, it is all part of, you know, it is serving its purpose as well. But yeah, there's a lot of fear, I think, around this, because a lot of people don't really understand. And I know different energy workers see it differently and speak about it differently. This is my experience. This is how I see it when I see it on people as well. Sometimes I see whole structures around the cranial area here. Sometimes I will see that are coiled around the spinal cord, like kind of like snake sort of like thing. So the air, it will take different forms, I think, but because what I see it is fourth dimensional density, if you have the tools to do it, the light language works a lot higher than that. You can just literally take it off. It's really like not that difficult to remove if you know what you're doing, if it makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think for me, what I can express about specifically the AI timelines versus the organic source timelines. So the reality that we are experiencing is a matrix, and originally the matrix was intended to be, you know, it was something created by source, right, where you will learn lessons, but ultimately you won't be trapped in a certain density. And a lot of people are afraid around this conversation, and what you need to know is that when you are trying to attract and create things from a place of fear and incompletion, what we just talked about, you are vibrating in a inorganic source matrix timeline, because you're operating based on the programs and the conditioning that have been implanted within your human psyche, within the collective consciousness. When you are creating things, like we said, from that pure place of inner child, the infinite inner creator that is experiencing its own possibility, and you're having fun and there's no attachment, and it's coming from love, true unconditional love, you are in a source timeline. So just to like simplify that for people, that's how you know if you are in the inorganic matrix timeline illusion, or if you're truly in these organic timelines of source. So that's like my little perspective on it.
So what I've also seen actually is that, okay, so as a collective, or as even as individuals, we've been plugged into this inorganic timelines, and these timelines
Yes.
are, yeah.
Yeah.
So what I've been seeing is more people like detaching from it, because from what I've channeled and seen, the we've actually detached from the greater mass one, the greater big
Mm-hmm.
one, kind of like sending pulses and information to people. We've detached from it, but it's still alive on a collective level because people are still into it, but we're not being, I don't want to say controlled, you know what I mean? But let's say the dark agenda and AI big timeline has actually been disconnected. So we've been cut off from it. And I
Yeah.
think it happened. Yes, that's when it happened. Do you know, I think it was in October or September of last year when there was the big glitch that Instagram, Facebook, they were all down for, yeah. So that's when they actually disconnected it from humanity and from the technology. So that's when then the technology started kind of like taking more of like, not positive, but even now, like it's shifted. Like I've seen like the amount of light that has been coming through Instagram,
Yeah.
for example.
Yes.
So what I've been seeing through these timeline is that the people who are way out of it, but still have some of it in, if it makes sense.
The programming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the programming perpetuates. So if it's an addiction, then it will perpetuate it. So that's where it comes down again to you being in your power and your heart center and aligning. And in a way, we're moving out of it, if it makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. And how my guides explain this is, even for myself, when I really started to awaken to like what was actually happening here, it quite literally is like in the movie The Matrix, when Neo wakes up and he's like in that chamber and they have to like deplug. That's literally what it is. That you have to awaken to the realization that whatever you were experiencing was actually never real.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the work that I do, I will have to, we will remove matrix plugs from people and we will replug them back into source. And I also want to stress here too, guys, that your higher self knows what you're ready for. So it's gonna happen incrementally. This big unplug experience, like you will have different experiences of that, but it doesn't all happen at once. It happens in stages, right? Because it can be very overwhelming for you and your ego self to process everything that's happening. So yeah.
Good deaths. I think
Yeah.
it's a lot. One after the other. You get big ones, you get lots of small ones. You know, it's a lot of, yeah, it's a lot of clearing, a lot of,
And a
understand.
real world example of this would be, let's say you leave work, right? You leave a job and now you are doing your soul work, but you recognize that internally you're still attached to maybe like the 9 to 5 structure you had, or you're attached to like receiving this paycheck or receiving something from outside of yourself. So it takes you time to catch up to, oh, like this is my new reality where abundance, I am creating my abundance. I'm not waiting for it. There's just so many different ways that it can play out, and it's just you're catching up to the new timeline that you have been placed on.
Yeah. It's understanding really, and they will send you the information. Like if you ask them, guys, you need to ask them, because there is something that is called the law of non-intervention. Unless you ask your
Yes.
guides to come in, they can't come in because it'll be against your free will. So if you come to me or to Erin and you say, oh, why aren't my guides helping me? Yes, but are you asking them? No. Well, there you go. So no, be surprised how many people, they don't know this, because we don't get taught this in school. We don't, you know, like me and you have learned obviously through experience, through our own understanding and listening. And yeah, it's actually about listening, quietening and listening, and then knowing. Because if you listen and you listen to yourself, you will know what direction to go. You will know which path to choose. You will understand, you know, but you can only listen if you've known yourself and if you've done the work. So you kind of like see the cycle sort of thing that you need to kind of step into.
I feel the Arcturian Council coming through, and they're wanting to explain this, the Ascension and the Galactic Awakening sort of that's unfolding right now. What's happening is you are growing into being a sovereign being. So what they do is they observe humans and they wait, and they let humans go through these series of lessons and awakenings, initiations, DNA activations, all of these things, and you will reach a point of total self-realization, of knowing that you are source, you are a source being, because we cannot be reintroduced to the galactic community until the vast majority of people on Earth in this particular timeline are vibrating at that speed of total sovereignty. Because these lower reptilian beings or whatever, they're only able to co-create a reality with the collective consciousness, because people don't remember that they themselves are source, right? So they have to wait for you, they're saying, in a sense, to have the realization of, oh, there is nothing outside of me. And then you vibrate out of the timelines where there is a reptilian being who is siphoning energy from you and all of these different things. Now, granted, I am hearing that beings like me and you, we also contract to be in and out of different timelines for the purpose of upholding the energy for the collective, right? So we go in between the fifth dimensional timelines, the 4D, even the 3D, because we can hold that level of density now. And so some of you might be feeling that way, where you're like, sometimes I feel like it's very fifth dimensional, and then sometimes I feel like I collapse back into maybe even a third dimensional timeline. And it's just because you have the vibration to sustain everything that's coming with that experience, and you're actually collapsing for all of the beings who are on that timeline.
Yeah. Literally,
literally, that's what happens. Yeah,
because it is you are existing in all the different ones, and it's okay sometimes to be in the 3D, and it's okay then to be in the 5D, and it's okay to also be in the 4D, and it's okay, like, even with me, like, I am so aware but also so not aware of all my multidimensional parts of self. I've got weeks where I've got 10 clients contacting me saying, oh, you were doing work on me in the astral. And I'm like, so tired. You know what I mean? And you guys also are doing that. All of us have multidimensional parts of self that we can tap and tune in and out of. And at the same time, we are anchoring our light in this now, in this moment, in this 3D, in this 4D, in this 5D, or whatever it is. So it's actually a wonderful and joyful. Hey, I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, it's never a dull moment. What is going to happen today? What am I going to see? Where am I going to go? That's how I feel anyway.
I mean, people will just tell me some bizarre things. Like, there's so much work that we're all doing. This is not just for me and you, Altia. This is for everybody. There's so much work that we're all doing on different planes of existence. Like, people will tell me, oh, hey, you popped up in my Akashic records. Like, different healers will tell me, oh, you popped up when I was working on this other client and you were helping me with something. And so there's so many versions of self that is all supporting this collective ascension. So just start honoring yourself more, and knowing that it is far beyond what you can consciously know. So I think it's a good time for some light language.
Yeah. Would you like to start?
Okay, sure. I'm even feeling like a bit dizzy already, just feeling like all of the energy around this conversation. So I just want to tune into attention here too. For some of you, this is going to be a releasing of some entities, attachments, that type of thing that you've been working through, and you just need a little bit of help collapsing some of that. And for some of you, this is going to be an anchor into your fifth dimensional self that you've been kind of like playing peekaboo with. And the universe is saying, okay, it feels like even with this conversation, you shifted on a level to now you can fully anchor this new timeline. So I'm going to be working with the diamond rainbow light, which is my favorite, very powerful. Kora katiria kaya kataya shikotarari kataria mahakara kataya sakayi koti shikotarar kataya sakataya shikotari niki shikotri yuruko tarai kataria tarara katarara kataramara katara. Oh, feeling this in the root, guys. Yoroko taria shakataya shakatara dara kataria shikotoro kotaria shakataya shiko kuyu 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 kotriana namahiki yuko yishikati yishikoti yishikoti yishikotarari kayereki kiara kayereke tere yosukotri shikotara You are ready to release these. I'm hearing shikotari shikatarara ikataya shikoto yuroko yeki shikoto yusukoto yushikotari shikatara mahakaya kaiki kokotaraka ikataya kaya koaka kaya 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 tayara siakadaya shikoto. And we're just calling in Gaia to also alchemize some of these energies that are releasing. Grounding you into the crystalline core of the earth so you can fully anchor these new vibrations into your template. Opening the heart. We are complete. Yes.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
We are holding what I'm feeling. We are holding such a big container of energy right now. This is what I'm feeling. It's huge because it's us, everyone here, all our guides, all their guides. It's very powerful. I'm going to pull through a little bit for the throat. That's what they were telling me now, but we'll see. I'm just gonna open and see what it is that comes through. So guys, remember, stay in your heart center and kara ishiro. Yan matakai chiro atikia takaya te kun maraya sietaka shiena reat kruat kriya shiratsa opening structures, anchoring. Okay, these are some codes of knowledge that are coming through. Anchoring, understanding, more understanding of self, coming in, pushing through, pushing out, all that no longer serves you. Raisai shin otoai chiatka krie ruar ayai shienataka riet karnieto uaishira. This is knowledge and power, personal power and understanding of self. Kaya shiet masie ruat kaya nit kulaya shienaraya trat creatrie saish masieno to anya natiat kira ishirataka. It's going to help with removing any barriers of self-sabotage and blocking and things that are actually conflicting you on a conscious and subconscious level. Opening up to more light, pulling in more light. Anchoring. Yeah, I'm also working with like a rainbow flame coming in. Anchoring. I saw it as you pulled it through. It's here. Tien marat kuai sheo te asienata tianeata kat kriet arruat kriat reis masie sheno tuku taina tiata krek katre aya sie shet maraya shera seratka. Finding your own seat of your personal power. Kaura tria sieta karayesh. Trusting in yourself. Karo iet maratua tiaisha ni Kawarai si shania ni sheta chiro ashiratika ishira siro tokora ishina takai shiro. This will anchor into the heart. Ntaria ishio surais. And some of you might feel releases from your feet and hands. Isho tokua ni takara ishira tingles karatero kua yashmishenata chiena takarieta reate kuna ishisharia tieshma siena yate aishie sarai shiro tokua ishina takram. Creating your sacred container of self. Karai chiro asiena nietu kuai shmisera yetaka tiero tuku rayat krias miseno aishieta chiatek ayotuku riat reasie shenataka. Remembering to stay in the heart and compassion, patience, understanding of self. More codes coming in. Anchoring into peripheral. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of shielding around as well. You guys are going to carry on clearing for the next few hours. Okay, wow. I actually overheat sometimes very intensely when I pull through a lot. So yeah, that was wonderful. I really enjoyed that.
Oh my gosh, you guys have no idea. I'm in like a different dimension right now. Yes, so this will continue for the next few hours, for some of you maybe even into tomorrow. This was a huge shift, huge. Oh my goodness, it was huge. And I feel the essence of the divine mother, our divine mother, and she is just holding us in her womb, holding us in her heart for all of the work that you have done that is beyond what you even know. So thank you, sister, for the reflection and for this co-creation. So beautiful. And thank you all for being here with us. You are equally a part of everything we just shifted on a collective and personal level.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who's turned up. We're gonna have the recording available, so if you guys did miss like the beginning or any parts of it, you will be able to catch up with it. Yeah, just be mindful. We'll be clearing. You might get triggered. You might feel like you need to sleep. You might feel like your stomach is releasing and clearing and nauseated, a little bit of dizziness. So
lots of water. There might be sleeping, especially for those of you who are also energy workers. Don't feel pressure to do things this week. You might just need to relax and rest and let the new codex unlock within your DNA and the new blueprint. So yes, amazing. Thank you all, and we will do it again next time for sure. Bye guys.
Bye guys.